Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Gilliland, and with me is Stephen Tolofield, and we are here to talk about Agatha All Along. Stephen, how are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. We ironically both wore Captain America related t-shirt shirts, so we got that going.
Yeah, we're on the same page with that.
And I did bring ceremonial red wine, so
Of course.
barbarian. Of course, we'll have some because it's theme appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping in theme with the episode of most recent episode of Agatha All Along.
And when I posted friends over for these watch-alongs, there are snacks, and there is either wine or beverages of people's choice, whether it's root beer or, you know, again, because again, we are civilized and we enjoy having shows like Agatha that we can talk about the law. So first, what are your impressions? We're 3 episodes in. What do you think?
I'm really enjoying it, honestly. I really loved WandaVision. That was probably peak Marvel television for me. And Catherine Hahn is just hilarious. And the cast they've gotten is just incredible. And it's really fun to watch them. I like kind of the magic aspect of Marvel too. The side of Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch is all really fun. So it's great to see more of this storyline continue.
I agree. Th- It's easy for a non-comic fan to watch this and forget it's a Marvel show.
Exactly. I love Marvel, but I'm not a huge follower of the comics. So all of these stories that I see on Disney Plus are pretty new to me. And so I really enjoy the adaptations um, eh, and I'm pretty ignorant, honestly, of the diversions from the comic stories or what other stories have come before. So whatever you can tell me about Agatha Harkness, I'm eager to hear.
Actually, I know very little, despite the fact I've read Marvel comics for over 35 years at this point,
Hmm.
or 40. Yeah, actually, it might be 40. That said, I'm not familiar with that character.
Hmm.
It's one of those, and like I haven't read every Marvel comic ever, but I've read a lot of them,
Yeah.
and it's I don't know how I've missed this. So again, I'm able to separate it. I mean, there are times when there are adaptations that I don't like and adaptations that I do like. Guardians of the Galaxy changing Peter Quill's father, I was okay with that. Like that
Mm,
was a good change.
mm,
Um, Wakanda Forever, I didn't like what they did with the Submariner. So,
hmm.
uh, but if they're not familiar with Namor, they might be
Hmm.
cool with that. Like it might not phase them
Right,
at all.
right,
And
right, right.
if they've changed anything with Agatha, I don't know. So I'm just here for the ride and uh
Yeah.
all the musical numbers. Like
Yeah. And I realized I was a Buffy the Vampire Slayer avid fan and watcher while that was on. And I realized that Agatha Harkness is name dropped in one of the episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I saw it on Twitter and it reminded me that when um after Willow goes off the deep end and is evil, is the big bad of that, was that season five? I think I want to
five
say
or
season
six.
six, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when the season premiere of the next season, when she comes back after going to the UK to study with witches, she says that Miss Harkness taught her so much. So Agatha canon in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Agatha Harkness and the MCU crossover.
Well, again, when a show's made by nerds for nerds, it's like we're
Yep.
gonna just sneak in little references.
I thought that was
And,
really cool.
and there are probably others uh
Sure.
with this character that I just haven't picked up on because again, we're crossing into some comics that I'm not familiar with. And again, I
Hmm.
read Doctor Strange, so it's one of those. It's like I don't know where to go look. I'm
Right.
sure Marvel Unlimited would have good answers. Well, let's get into how this starts as a love letter parody with, in the intro of the first episode of a police procedural, and with their fake opening credits, they actually have inspired by like
Brilliant.
Yeah, so
Law and
good.
Order is so funny. Like True Detective, it's so funny.
I was they really do love TV. And like that's part of the reason why I loved WandaVision. It was a love letter to decades of television.
Right.
And they remember their roots. Like that's how it begins. I was curious if they would do that every episode, but it's like the bridge from WandaVision into Agatha's own story.
Mhm.
So let's get into the issue spotting because we're a little shotgun, but at least it's in order for the first three episodes. And I picked up on witches and custodial interrogations of teen, I thought was referenced to being 16 years old. And
Sounds right. Yeah.
if a teen's arrested, there are additional rules that kick in for custodial for interrogating a teen. And part of that's Miranda, but part of that's parents need to be involved. Yeah, do you want to share what your thoughts on this and
Yeah.
your analysis?
Yeah, that was funny because this reminded me actually of our Legal Geeks panel on the Acolyte. It's Comic-Con where I did a deep dive on the custodial interrogation of the urchin in that episode of the Acolyte. And this, if you're interested in that sort of deep dive, listeners, you can always access our Comic-Con panel recording. And hear more information about how California law governs it, which is much more strict as it turns out, than what New Jersey law says. In California, you cannot interrogate a minor without some sort of advocate on the minor's behalf. It's a matter of state law. New Jersey is not quite so strict. The Supreme Court of New Jersey has held that it's important for there to be a parent or guardian there when a minor is interrogated in custody by law enforcement, but it's not a requirement. And minors can waive their Miranda rights. They can speak to police officers without the presence of an attorney. But that said, courts in New Jersey are very take a very close look at the circumstances of an interrogation to make sure that police did not overstep, because minors are so susceptible to coercion by authority figures. So it's really important that there's that the police are very careful about not overstepping their authority in interrogating minors in custody.
But since they're parroting a police show,
Yeah,
she goes for like beat the kid,
totally. Yeah,
really.
clearly not constitutional.
There's
Yeah,
so many things wrong with that
yeah,
from it's like child abuse, like it's just there would be a massive 1983 action
yeah,
against her. So, that statement would get suppressed because it's like she hit the kid. No, like we're done here. Like,
yeah,
and it's suppressed. Fruit of the
yeah.
poisonous tree, if anything was to come from that. So
She's the bad cop without a corresponding good cop in that situation. She's just full bad cop.
well, that and the way they tie in the FBI agent, I guess that's supposed to be the good cop,
Sure.
but sorta. I mean, like it's so.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they're playing on so many tropes of like lady police officers don't have a good work-life balance. It's like, again, nailing that genre of TV show. Real life, they do. So
Sure.
a lot there.
Yeah.
But conjoined with this, after she snaps out of it, she claws her way out of the hex. She looks in her closet and sees that the kid's actually like duct taped and tied up in her closet. She's like, oh, this must have been like a kidnapping. And so she realizes
Oops.
a boo-boo was made. And so New Jersey does kidnapping is illegal in New Jersey. And looking at it's section 2C colon 13-1 kidnapping in their penal code, excuse me, their New Jersey Code of Criminal Justice. They say kidnapping is holding for ransom, reward, or as a hostage. A person is guilty of kidnapping if they unlawfully remove another from the place where they are found, or if they unlawfully confine another with the purpose of holding that person for ransom or reward or as a shield or hostage. I think Teen's a hostage at this point, and being in the closet or pantry. There's a variety of, at least it's not under the stairs, but there's a lot of problems with that. Uh,
Sure. Although, I mean, my question though is that yeah, every crime, of course, requires a culpable mental state. And if she didn't know what she was doing, if she thought that she was doing the right thing, she might have a good defense to sort of intentionally kidnapping the victim. Although, query whether a jury or a judge is going to buy that she was under a spell when she did it that compromised her ability to make to act intentionally. But in the context of the show, she was not aware that she was actually kidnapping anyone. So, and crimes like this are specific intent crimes. You have to actually intend the conduct in order to be found guilty of it. But interestingly, I noticed that later on in the section of that statute that you notice is that it's a first degree crime if the victim is less than 16 years old. So the fact that she's got a minor wrapped up in this certainly exposes her to a lot more criminal liability than might otherwise be she might be exposed to.
yeah, accidental kidnapping.
Yeah.
So there might be a solid defense to the mens rea, the intent to actually commit kidnapping. But when she realizes that Junior is in her pantry, bound and gagged, she doesn't set him free.
Oh yeah, she's just gotta
Nor does she really pull the tape off of his
that's
mouth.
true.
So this might go from, if there's a defense to kidnapping, it's still false imprisonment that uh I didn't let him go. Like he has to hop
Right.
around and free himself. So she might be able to defend one crime, but not the other. Because it's like, you can't do that. It's like, I was sorry, I was compromised and I didn't realize I put duct tape over your mouth and tied you up. Oops, a doozy.
My bad.
Uh, as opposed to setting him free, because I think the lack of setting him free is the problem.
Right. You're right there.
But since you mentioned exposure,
Good segue.
this is possibly the first Marvel show that where we actually see a bare rear end. I haven't been
Right.
keeping track, but it's
That's
like,
true. I mean, Thor was naked in Love and Thunder, right?
yeah, just a second. So it's
So there's some public nudity happening. But yeah, that was in not in a suburban New Jersey neighborhood for sure.
and so there's yeah, I was surprised. It's like, oh, we're going there. All right. So Love and Thunder aside, if there's something else, I mean, Ragnarok had you see part of Hulk, but not all. It's implied.
Right.
But
But first time on Disney Plus, I for sure.
yeah, it's just well, hello. I don't think I'm not sure if America needed this, but it happened. So let's talk about public nudity. It's a state issue, and there are local laws that address this as well. So I looked at New York, and also California has some. So this research was done in advance of the last failed Fantastic Four movie because the Ben Grimm didn't have pants, and I found that problematic.
Mm,
Uh, and also the Invisible Man, because in the Universal Monsters, he strips down, but
right.
he's invisible. So that's that's where this research was born. So New York defines public lewdness as when someone intentionally exposes their private or intimate parts of their body in a lewd manner or commits any other lewd act in a public place or in a private premises under circumstances in which he may readily be observed from either a public place or from other private premises, and with the intent that he is so observed. New York further defines when a person appears in public place in a manner that the private or intimate parts of their body are unclothed or exposed. New York law has an exception for exposure, which states nothing in this section shall prevent the adoption by a city, town, or village, or local law prohibiting exposure of a person as therein defined in a public place at any time, whether or not such person is entertaining or performing in a play, exhibition, show, or entertainment. Did you do any further research on this?
I mean, I located the New Jersey statute that it's 2C 14.4 from what I can tell, and it's a disorderly persons offense in New Jersey. But it's interesting because the way the statute is worded, it's really sort of nudity or exposing of private parts for the purpose of arousing or gratifying the sexual desire of the actor or any other person. So I'm not sure that it necessarily covers just sort of random public streaking.
And I think that's the catch-all, and I think there's a commonality, at least in California, New York, and New Jersey, that being naked by itself isn't the crime.
Right.
Local ordinances might have more teeth on
Right.
that it's like you just can't go to church naked. Like
Sure.
you're not going to the baseball game without a jersey.
Sure.
Like, it's like, no, no.
Right.
Uh, but being naked by itself isn't the crime. The crime would be if there's like sexual arousal and like that intent. One of the cases that I looked at from the Invisible Man dealing with California law, there must be explicit intent to expose one's genitals as a necessary element for the offense of indecent exposure. And there was a case law example where someone, a male, broke into a person's home and the assailant was naked, but the victim was unable to see the defendant's genitals because he was behind a dresser. Nevertheless, the intent was there for him to expose himself, and it didn't matter about the number of observers or the fact the dresser was in the way.
I'm only kind of snickering just because that seems to me like a PG-13, like strategic placement of scenery to avoid an R rating. It seems really funny.
And lo and behold, it actually happened.
Totally.
Because real life is weird that way. Of like, what, that was real? It happened? Okay, here we are. Uh, Your Honor, I mean, think of the poor lawyer making that argument. Your Honor, my client was behind the dresser.
Going to law school was the thing that really made the old saying truth is stranger than fiction really hit home for me. The things you read about, the things that happen is just they're extraordinary.
Yeah, we actually have to explain. No, that was real.
Yeah.
What? No. Uh, so her being out front talking to the neighbor without any clothes on kind of just makes her the crazy neighbor that something's amiss here. You're covering the kid's eyes, but it's not calling the police. Maybe for a 5150 hole, like maybe that could be valid of there's a naked person who's confused running around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That is worthy to call the police. But if somebody just walks out to get the paper, ask what the hell's going on, that's
Yeah. The robe like falls open or whatever. Yeah, that's more of a civil thing, maybe not a crime.
sorry. Uh oh, I don't want to get a call like that for a case, but okay. Uh Pivoting from public nudity, there is then attempted murder. So we have the witch that has to be an ex-lover,
Mm,
because that
Aubrey
kind of,
Plaza, yeah.
yeah, like that kind of anger, like
There is history there for sure.
that's that's not the regular, I'm just an assassin. There's some baggage. Uh, Somebody left without an explanation. And we have attempted murder. Like you don't have to complete the crime in order for murder to have a murder charge. Attempt is enough. And
Right.
here she clearly tries to kill Agatha.
And kudos to Agatha for talking her down. Wow. that was pretty impressive self-defense.
That also raises the issue of like her saying, I want to get my purple back and we can finish this.
Yeah,
That contract would not be enforceable. It'd
sure.
be against public policy.
Right, right, right. And it's sort of an appeal, interestingly, to kind of um, fight fair, don't shoot me while I'm down. It's sort of like honor fights or duels or something, but it's not something that would be a legally enforceable agreement.
Yeah, and we're also dealing with individuals beyond mortality. Like each
Hmm.
one of these women are over 400 years old. People don't live that long and look that good. That's just doesn't happen. Not even in the Bible. But we have the recruitment of witches to be in this coven. And this raises a very fun corporations question of, is this a partnership or a joint venture? Do you have thoughts on this?
I struggled through corporations, and as soon as I took the bar, I sort of intentionally forgot everything about corporations that I possibly could. So I am gonna let you take that away.
This was I had a partnership question come up not too long ago, which is why I was like, hey, it looks like a partnership. And
Anything for the issue spotting, right?
yeah, it's what we do. It's why we get paid. It's why people like us exist. So if you have more than two people working together in a common purpose, they can form a partnership. Partnerships can be formed with a written agreement. They don't always need an agreement, and you don't always need specific intent to form the partnership. If you start acting like you're in a partnership, you can inadvertently create a partnership that you have individuals in a common cause working towards a common goal. And if they're sharing the proceeds, the treasure, that can be a partnership. Now, this gets a little weird on as a do the witches have a partnership or a joint venture? And the difference between the two is a partnership is enduring. So the Avengers, I think, are a better example of a partnership because they're not there for one thing and then go their separate ways. It's like, hey, we're the Earth's mightiest heroes now. We're going to stick together and we're going to stop bad guys. That's what we do now. A joint venture has a limited purpose, a beginning, middle, and end. And going down the road with the intention of acquiring power sounds a lot like a joint venture. Now, if the coven stays together, it could be a partnership. So there are some facts that we haven't seen yet that if this merry band of witches stays together, they could be a partnership. But right
Yeah.
now, I think they're a joint venture.
It's a really interesting distinction because you can see like one says coven to me, I think of kind of pacts and sort of enduring commitment or sort of a insular cell of witches. So yeah, I wonder if I mean they're all witches except for poor Sharon, of course. Um, but I wonder in their minds like what belonging to a coven means. They haven't quite said that yet. So it'll be interesting, as you say, to see um, how whether this agreement, this group sort of endures as after they complete the challenges of the road.
Exactly, because when I think of other pop culture examples of witches, I think a coven would be enduring. That they're staying together by a cauldron and they're sharing a crystal, so that way they each
Mm.
see, like something like that. But this right now looks like a joint venture.
Yeah, you're right. And especially in light of the fact that Agatha seems so opportunistic and doesn't seem to really have any interest in really being around these people other than to help her further her goals to get down the road. So probably in her mind, she's like, yeah, we're a coven, whatever. But as at the first opportunity, as soon as she gets what she wants, she's I would expect her character, at least as she exists now, to leave them in the dust.
Yeah, that raises the potential that if Agatha goes her separate way, her own way, The other witches could form a partnership after being in a joint venture.
Mm,
So like
interesting.
the band might stay together.
Right.
So yes, there it's wild. Now, in both situations of a partnership or a joint venture, there are certain fiduciary duties that attach between members of a partnership or a joint venture, and that is duty of loyalty and duty of care are the two big ones that are going to attach. There's no self-dealing. There's like no using your compatriots as a human shield. Like, like you're sharing the risk and working together. Agatha has a problem with that when they get to the house and they're supposed to drink wine and go through the first trial together. Do you have thoughts on the duty of loyalty?
Just the fact that really stuck with me when she finally drank it. She's like, "Oh, it's so cheap." It's just the delivery, all the Emmys for Catherine Hahn. I love her so much.
She's
Um,
so good.
she's amazing. Yeah, I mean, yes, that's an interesting take on like that sort of agreement of like we're all in this together, which is sort of fundamentally um the nature of a partnership, as I recall from my third year of law school, is that you're sharing the benefits of a partnership, but you also share the risk. You have as partners, you're sort of exposing yourself to liability for the conduct of the corporation, although you're not personally liable. So it's interesting that they're taking on some risk here, or sort of enforcing the partner. Um, in her duty to assume the risk that the corporation or the corporate entity is taking on.
Yeah, because they cannot move forward unless they all do this. And so her trying to use
Right.
them as like the canaries in the coal mine, there's a problem with that. Of you all, it's not going to work unless you all do it. Now, in the real world, partners do not have to drink a poison and then figure out an antidote together.
Sure. Yeah.
That's some extreme team building exercises right there that, you know, go play paintball. Like there are less risky things for team building that you can go do.
Right.
Uh, so you have that aspect, and then that is linked to the duty of care. With Sharon, they're all doing this madcap scramble trying to figure out the antidote. And the witches are seeing horrible visions that are designed to distract them, designed to stop them. And the formula for the antidote includes a strand of hair from everyone, and then they all have to drink it. I don't think they got a strand of Sharon's hair.
Mm. Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I don't remember them doing that. Can't recall.
So they do remember to give her the antidote, but she dies.
Hmm.
So the question is, did they botch the formula because they forgot to get a strand of hair? And that raises a duty of care element. If I was defending them for this boo-boo, they had all been poisoned in a crisis situation. They act reasonably, or was this negligence that took place? And I technically, if they were not compromised, I don't think there's negligence. There would be negligence if they were not compromised. Being compromised, I think that makes this an excusable mistake. That in the heat of the moment, they forgot to get a strand of her hair.
Hmm.
It's not like they forgot her in trying to escape, or they forgot to give her the antidote. They
Yeah. Although at the very end of the episode, like the last line is like, "Who's Sharon?"
Mrs.
Agatha's like completely oblivious to who Sharon Hart is.
Yeah, but she knows who Mrs. Hart is, so it's like, is she
Yes.
screwing with everyone, trying to get a rise out of them, or what? Yeah, so problematic.
She's such a user. I love Agatha. She's so great.
and the actress just leans in, and you can tell she's having a great time. Uh, with this role.
Yeah.
Uh,
All
and
that
it's
scenery she's eating. I'm sure she's dieting after that production.
it's just like you go. This is awesome.
It's amazing.
It's so much fun. That's that's the first two episodes. I mean, I should say, don't have a murder house. You cannot
Right.
have a house designed to kill people. That's
Yeah. Yeah, developers, any developers in the audience, yeah, you should comply with all those regulations that are out there about having fire fire prevention um, technology in your homes and making sure there's enough exits and that sort of thing.
yeah, so you can actually open the door and escape. Like
Yeah.
if you oh, you can only go in, you can't leave. Problem.
And you have
Uh,
to exit through the stove.
I mean, and all the Hansel and
Oh my God, it's so
Gretel,
brilliant. Yeah. Putting a witch in the stove, they're just like, I'm not doing that. It's so great.
I had a friend with a nice house. It was just like, ah, how much of that was improvised and how much was that in the script? Like, I probably in the script. I mean, they had to know what they were doing, but I'm sure there's some outtakes that are just going to be priceless to watch when we actually get there.
So
Uh,
great.
oh, it's so much fun. I mean, and there's been references to witch trials, with
Hmm.
Jennifer, because she's getting sued for a defective product, and
Right.
which it's amazing that we as lawyers just skipped over that.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
that's so normal.
I mean,
Consumer, blah, 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 class actions, blah.
yeah, it's like we're not Ralph Nader lawyers here, but
Right.
there's if it's a defective product and it's not working the way that's intended, like it's turning skin green or something bad, yeah, there would be litigation.
Absolutely.
But the line about our kind doesn't do well in courtrooms, mwah, so good. Um, any other thoughts about these first two episodes?
No, this is it's been really fun so far. I'm really excited to see where they go. I'm excited to see where the Witch's Road leads. And apparently, Aubrey Plaza joins them on the road, according to the previews.
I watched the third episode before we started,
No,
so
nice.
um, uh, they are so good. I look forward to being able to talk about that in the near future. But this show is solid,
Very
and
exciting.
it's like, did you watch Echo?
I did. Yeah.
It was like that was just I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Like I thought the fight choreography was amazing, but like I wasn't overly like
Yeah.
pulled
Yeah,
into it.
it was really funny how that just kind of came and went. I wasn't sure if it was a failure of kind of advertising or if maybe it just didn't land with people, but I just didn't hear many people talking about it one way or the other, which is really strange. But yeah, I did watch it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I mean I enjoyed it, but they dropped all the episodes at once, which again
Mm,
was not a vote of confidence of,
mm,
you know, and I thought it was fine.
mhm.
I mean, like I watched it all, was happy to have it. Um, but compared to Agatha, I'm more engaged in this. Like I have a smile on my face while watching it. I'm enjoying the performances, and they've made this Wizard of Oz-esque road to go down. It's like cool.
It's fantastic.
It's so much fun. So with that, anything else for the good of the order?
Looking forward to talking about it more.
Same here. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. You can see us. Some of us will be at San Diego Comic Fest at the end of October. We have two panels, one on the 40th anniversary of Star Trek: The Search for Spock, and the other on Marvel's 85th anniversary, which has no shortage of subject matter. So we got 90 minutes for that panel. So we're going to have a rip-roaring good time talking about lots of things. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Gonna be fun. So wherever you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay geeky. Take care now.